The Atlantic still guards one of World War II's most feared steel giants. And here's the truth that hooks hard. Bismarck may be silent, broken and buried under miles of water, but the idea of bringing her back refuses to die. Not in shipyards, not in history books, and definitely not in the minds of those who live for naval legends. Today, on 0 Hour World War II, we're diving straight into that obsession. Not the myth, not the hype. The real story of Bismarck, the wreck, and the impossible dream of restoration. Bismarck wasn't just a battleship. She was a statement. Launched in 1939, armed with 8 15-inch guns, layered in heavy armour and engineered to dominate sea lanes, Bismarck represented peak battleship design of World War II. When she broke into the Atlantic in 1941, she sent shockwaves through Allied command. One battle, one explosion. HMS Hood gone in seconds. That single moment sealed Bismarck's legend forever. But legends don't die cleanly. They sink violently. After days of pursuit, air attacks, torpedoes and relentless gunfire, Bismarck was battered beyond saving. On May 27th, 1941, she slipped beneath the waves, not conquered quietly, not forgotten. She went down fighting, and that matters. Bismarck lies more than 4,700 metres below the Atlantic surface. That's nearly 3 miles down. Cold, crushing pressure, total darkness. The wreck was discovered in 1989, and what investigators found rewrote assumptions. The hull remains largely intact. Turrets still face outward. The massive shape is unmistakable. But this isn't a sleeping ship. It's a shattered one. The stern is torn apart. Internal compartments collapsed. Saltwater corrosion has eaten decades into the steel. Microorganisms are actively consuming the metal, turning once proud armour into, just fragile rust structures. Time didn't just stop Bismarck. It dismantled her slowly and, mercilessly. Let's say it out loud. Raising Bismarck is not happening. The weight alone destroys the idea. Fully loaded, Bismarck displaced over 50,000 tons. Even stripped to a wreck, she remains unimaginably heavy. Modern salvage operations struggle with vessels a fraction of that size in shallow water. At 3 miles deep, no existing technology can lift something so massive in one piece. Even if money was no object, physics still wins. Pressure at that depth exceeds 450 times atmospheric pressure. Any attempt to move the wreck would cause structural collapse. The steel has lost integrity. The moment stress is applied, the ship would likely disintegrate. Bismarck cannot rise whole. Not now, not ever. Salvage doesn't always mean lifting. Sometimes, it means learning. Expeditions have recovered small artifacts, things like instruments, metal fragments, and other pieces that really help historians understand ship construction, battle damage, and those final moments. These recoveries are surgical, respectful, and, quite limited. The wreck itself is treated as a war grave, and that's not just symbolism. Hundreds of sailors went down with that ship. Modern exploration focuses on mapping, imaging, and, preservation through documentation. High-resolution scans now show battle scars in chilling detail, torpedo damage, shell impacts, and even the angle of descent. Every detail tells a story World War II never really finished telling. Here's the real question. If it's impossible, why does the idea of restoring Bismarck still grab people by the collar? Because, honestly, Bismarck represents unfinished business. She was the last gasp of battleship supremacy. Soon after, aircraft carriers rewrote naval warfare. Bismarck sits at the crossroads of eras. Steel versus sky, guns versus planes. Her rise and fall, well, they mirror the end of an age. Restoring Bismarck isn't about steel, it's about memory. It's about, touching a moment when the ocean itself seemed to tremble under gunfire. The only restoration possible is partial and symbolic. Museums recreate sections. Digital reconstructions rebuild her frame virtually. Engineers use original blueprints and wreck data to model the ship down to the rivet. These restorations are accurate, immersive, and, well, powerful. They allow viewers to walk her decks without disturbing the grave below. This is where, technology wins. Not by lifting steel, but by lifting understanding. Bismarck teaches us more from the ocean floor than she ever could in a dry dock. She shows the limits of power, the speed of technological change, and, well, the cost paid by sailors who never saw land again. World War II wasn't just fought on beaches and skies. It was decided in cold rolling seas by machines pushed beyond their time. Bismarck was one of those machines. This isn't just naval history. This is human ambition colliding with reality, the desire to conquer nature, the realization that sometimes some legends are meant to stay where they fell. Bismarck rising from the ocean floor may never happen, but her story rises every time we tell it right. And that's what we do here. We dig where others glance. We slow down where others rush. We respect the steel, the silence, and the sacrifice. If this deep dive gave you something new, something real, something worth thinking about, don't let it end here. Subscribe to 0 Hour World War II. Share this story with someone who still believes history is alive. Because as long as we keep telling it, legends like Bismarck never truly sink.